Chapter 11. Legitimate Defence. "Hey, thanks for riding back with me, man," I say, glancing across the car at Ryan. Pulling up at a red light, he glances at me with a smile. "It's no problem," he says. "So how are you doing? You've hardly said a word." I sigh, a deep laboured expulsion of air, and not for the first time today consider lighting another cigarette. "Not that great," I say, watching a delivery truck cross the intersection in front of us. There is pleasant music playing, as his radio is on, untuned to a commercial pop station. It's nice background noise, but offers little in the way of distractions. "That's understandable," Ryan says, pulling away as the lights change in our favour. "So how are things with Eve?" I guess he's trying to take my mind off the rape accusation. If only he knew. Glad that I decided to stick the cigarette packet and lighter into my pocket. Giving in to temptation, I pull them out and extract a cigarette. "That bad, huh?" Ryan chuckles, turning his attention away from the road for a second to glance my way. "It's worse than bad, Rye," I say, the cigarette clamped between my teeth as I light the end of it. "It was officially the worst fight we've ever had. I think it's best if you just don't ask." Thinking back to the fight with Eve, I feel the guilt weigh heavily on my chest and exhale a cloud of smoke into the car interior. "Jesus, Mike," Ryan exclaims, wafting the air with one hand. "If you're going to smoke in my car, can you at least open the bloody window?" "Sorry, bud." I drop my packet and lighter onto the dashboard before turning the handle on the door, cranking the window down. "Why are things so terrible?" he questions. "What happened with her this time?" I stare at him, unable to believe he hasn't heard. I thought maybe everybody knew everything already. People are so good at talking. If he doesn't know, I don't think I can bear to tell him what happened. "She's driving me crazy," I say, sucking out the cigarette and deciding to bitch about her like I normally would. "Miss Paranoia, why haven't you replied to my messages? Are you with Chrissy?" But of course she never refers to her by a name. It's always "that woman." "You're screwing some slut behind my back, aren't you?" Same old story. Smoke billows around my head as I talk before it gets pulled out of the open window. Squeezing the cigarette harder between my fingers, I grip my teeth against the waves of sorrow washing over me. In truth, I'll be lucky if I hear from her again. "Maybe you should respond," Ryan suggests gently. "Ignoring her clearly isn't working." "And say what?" I swallow the lump forming in my throat and hope the emotions aren't showing in my voice. This is all I ever get. I mean, it's not like I have a history of cheating. He joins the motorway heading south and the wind noise levels increase. "Reassure her," Ryan says, raising his voice so as to be heard over the speed-induced wind. This whole thing just makes me so sick. "I've been there," I shout, regarding the burning end of the cigarette thoughtfully. "Reassure her, tell her what I'm doing, even who I'm with, and she still assumes it's all lies to cover up some affair I'm supposed to be having." "I don't envy you," he laughs. Her petrified face fills my mind and remorse twists my stomach. "God, I can't do this anymore," I say under my breath, exhaling another cloud of smoke into the air. In truth, I haven't heard a peep from her since she ran out on me yesterday. Not one single text. It makes me feel empty inside, like she has just stopped existing. Even though I saw her earlier, she hasn't contacted me. "Why don't you just tell her where to get off?" he says. "Have you even seen her when she's pissed?" I gasp, staring at him open-mouthed. I take a final drag from the cigarette before tossing the end carelessly out the window. That woman is in a permanent state of PMT times 100 and has no sense whatsoever sometimes. I'm telling you, Rye. And then she throws me a curveball, turning into this timid mouse like I've never seen her before. Not that you could really tell when I saw her earlier. The way she reacted to me yesterday, I can't believe that was the same woman. "What happened to texting like normal couples?" I question, rolling the window up because I'm sick of shouting over the wind. "What you up to, babe? I miss you. I can't wait to get back. I love you." Instead, I get insane Miss Green Eyes. Eve should have come with a warning label. Brian laughs at this, and I can tell he has no idea what I'm really feeling. I put on a fake voice like a game show host and use my American accent. "This female contains a volatile mix of chemicals. She has a tendency to explode like a permanently erupting volcano. Do not touch if you value your sanity." "There's no two ways about it, man," Ryan grins. "She's psychotic." I turn to look out of my side window at the fleeting green landscape and the sky, glowing orange as the late afternoon sun starts to dip below the horizon. Guilty sorrow is still swirling around in my chest, feeling like a real physical pressure inside my body. If I dwell on this any more, I swear I'm going to cry like a baby. It's pathetic. Glancing in the side mirror attached to the front passenger door, I see the flashing blue lights reflecting in it that caught my attention, and look over my shoulder at the fast-approaching police car. Ryan had been in the right-hand lane overtaking a car, but soon pulls ahead of it and the police car sails past, siren wailing. "So what happened between you two?" Ryan questions, his attention still fixed on the road ahead. "She showed up at my place yesterday. She was waiting for me when I got home after my grilling at the police station," I whisper and swallow hard. I don't know if I can get this out without breaking down. Maybe I should try and get him talking about something else. Taking a deep breath in, I exhale a long, slow, deliberate breath and try to pull myself together. "And?" he presses, his tone softer as if he can sense what's coming. "I hit her, Rye," I say, the words coming out in a bit of a rush. I trail off and clear my throat, coughing uncomfortably into my fist. "She probably deserved it," Ryan snorts. I stare at him for a moment. He doesn't take his eyes off the road, but his discomfort is obvious. "Look, mate, I know how I feel about this kind of thing," he says, his body tense now, "and I don't mean to be insensitive, but face facts, Mike. She's a bitch." The venom in his words betray his genuine feelings about my girlfriend, feelings which he has never expressed like that before. "Ryan," I protest, scowling at him, even though I know he's right. "Eve just has issues. I mean, you should have seen the look on her face. She couldn't wait to get away from me." "All I'm saying is, there's no point kicking yourself over this. She'll bounce back." He licks his lips and flicks the indicator on before changing lanes in the road. "Every time I see you two together, it's like World War III, for God's sake. The other week she gave you a bloody lip, and the week before a bloody nose. You're always covered in bruises and scratches." He has told me numerous times that I should dump her, but never expressed any actual animosity towards her before. "She attacked me with a knife," I admit quietly. "She's never done that before." "That just proves my point," he gasps. "She's a fucking psycho. Get out of the relationship while you still can, before she puts you in an early grave." "How can you not think this is a big deal?" I say, turning to scowl out the side window. "To be honest, I'm surprised you haven't belted her before now," he sighs. "A woman did to me what she does to you, and I think it's fair to say I'd be justified, especially if she starts with something as dangerous as a knife." I snort in disagreement, but before I can string another sentence together, he jumps in again. "There are accepted rules, you know, when going up against a woman. In self-defense, you are allowed to hit them," he says. "Nobody can blame you for that." The lines are all a bit too shady, if you ask me, buddy, and as much as I appreciate your support over this, I didn't hit her for anything as noble as that. I simply lost my rag. I lift the cigarette carton and tap it against the dashboard. Hitting a woman in anger is DV, plain and simple. No, he shakes his head. Once she starts with the knife, your anger is irrelevant. Besides, have you ever considered how what she does to you is classified? The door swings both ways. DV isn't exclusively man on woman. Okay, I get the point, I concede, turning the packet over in my hands. Have you heard about the other thing that's going on with her? Are you talking about the rumour she's expecting? I confirm. Well, it's true, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Well, that certainly complicates things, he chuckles. I still say you should break up with her, though. Doesn't it just? I should have known you'd say that, and I think at this point, whether or not I want to be with her is immaterial. I say, tossing the packet back onto the dash. It's pretty much a done deal. She broke up with you? He says, sounding surprised. I make an amused sound. You seriously think, after my award-winning performance yesterday, I still have a hope in hell of staying in this relationship with Eve? I'll be lucky if I ever see her again. Let alone that baby growing in her belly. That's a good point. I do wonder why you stay with her, Mike, he says. She beats you, she doesn't trust you. It seems like there isn't any good left in your relationship. All Eve does is give you a hard time, or am I wrong? Sadness washes over me like an ocean wave lapping against the shore and starts to close up my throat. I love her, I admit. Even after everything she's put me through, I'm not sure I'm ready to lose her, especially like this. You can't tell me she wouldn't have walked away months ago if the roles were reversed, he says. Consider that for a moment. Thanks for pointing that out, Roy. Go ahead and make me feel even more weak, pathetic and stupid than I already do. Why don't you? I wonder silently. She loves me too, I huff, crossing my arms defensively. Well, if she does, she's got a funny way of showing it, he snorts. She's good in bed, all right? That's why I'll stay with her, I say. I didn't realise you were on good enough terms for that, he says. Suddenly my phone starts ringing. We're not, I say, pulling it out of my pocket. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's out of this world. Stunned, I stare at the display of my phone as if Alicia's calling me from beyond the grave. Are you going to answer that, buddy? Ryan says. Eve is ringing me. Why is Eve ringing me? I answer the call, greeting her with caution. I'm sorry, Eve says. You're sorry? I question, sounding as surprised as I feel. But that's all she says. The dial tone hums in my ear and I disconnect the call at this end, slipping it back into my pocket. Who was that? Ryan asked. Everything okay? I don't know. The words come out slowly and I shake my head. Before I can say more, it rings again. I get it out, wondering if she will be calling back. That was a strange phone call. Yeah? I'll bark into the receiver after seeing who it is. Where are you? Liv questions. In the car with Ryan, why? Please tell me you didn't talk to the police yesterday without calling Kirsten, she sighs. Look, Liv, I don't need her to hold my hand when I didn't do anything wrong, I respond, rather defensively. Oh my God, how could you be so stupid? She gasps. Do you know how many calls I've had today? Reporters fishing for hard information? I don't know how they know what they do, but it sounds like they know a hell of a lot and are just filling in the gaps. Do you have any idea what's going on? I exhale, feeling my stress level rising, and run my free hand through my hair. She sounds upset and more worked up than she was when we spoke last night. Will you just calm down, for Christ's sake? I snap, lifting the cigarette carton again and tapping it against my thigh. I'm the one whose reputation is being torn apart here. I think I'm the one who should be panicking, don't you? I stare down at the carton as I rotate it in my hand and consider lighting another one. I've hardly ever smoked, and I'm not an addict, not by a long shot, but I don't know how else to deal with all the stress. If I'm not careful, that'll change real fast, and soon I won't be able to go without them. Aren't you? She questions, sounding highly strong. You sound pretty calm to me. Come on, Liv, this is going to destroy my good guy rep. I mean, what if Fox dropped me from this movie because of all this? I lament. I think you're getting a little ahead of yourself. The police haven't actually charged you with any of these alleged crimes, have they? She says, her voice sounding more like normal. No, not yet, but I'm sure they are working on that as we speak, I reply, bitterness showing. They sure like me for the rape, but they'll be disappointed when my DNA fails to match up with their evidence. Remembering the unexplainable scratches on my arm and knot of butterflies forms in my stomach. Although whether or not they will find my DNA under her fingernails has opened a debate, I add, unintentionally crushing the cigarette box slightly in my fist. Well, Liv exclaims, as reassuring as that is. Look, Liv, can you just get to the point? I interrupt impatiently. I'm sick of talking about this. You know, I was going to suggest that we hold out on making a response to this, but it sounds like you just can't help yourself, can you? She says tightly, her tone curt now. Maybe you don't give a toss what people say about me, but I do. I yell down the phone at her, losing my patience. Up to a certain point. If I just let them talk it up, the public are going to believe every single word. How much more guilty do you think I'm going to look if I don't make a response to this rape arrest? Don't take it out on me, Michael, she cries defensively. I wasn't even talking about that. But it is a bit early to defend yourself to the media. The cops could still rule you out as a suspect. Yeah, well, I won't hold my breath for that, I snort. I was referring to a little stunt this morning, she says. The video clip of that exclusive you gave Sky News is spreading like wildfire. That's great, Liv. Thanks for the news flash, I say, sounding less than pleased. Later. I hang up, feeling the frustration building. Bitch! I growl, slamming my phone against the dash hard. Whoa, Ryan chuckles. Take it easy, mate. Don't let it get to you. I notice that he is pulling into a service station. I need a snack. I'm hungry, he says, pulling up on the forecourt away from the fuel pumps. You want anything? A bottle of mineral water. Thanks, Rye. I smile tensely at him. Okay, he says cheerfully. I'll watch him get out and stroll towards the garage shop. Leaning my elbow on the door frame in front of the closed window, I toss the cigarette carton onto the dash. Searching for a distraction, I stare down into the full side pocket of the door and pull out a book. It's obviously old and well read, judging by the yellow pages and dog-eared corners, and if I'm not mistaken, it's a romance. There's a toned, tanned and bare male torso on the cover, clutching a female form against him. Laughing to myself, I open it at the first chapter and read a few lines. Hilary watched the male model strutting around the studio, flexing his muscles for the camera as the flash popped again and again, encouraged by the positive words from the photographer with disgust. She knew that type of man. You'd never find her swooning over the likes of him. Wrinkling her nose, she turned back to the coffee machine and picks up her papers. Pathetic. I bet she ends up madly in love with him by the end of the book. Hearing the car door open, I look up at Ryan. I didn't know you were into Mills and Boon, I grin. Seating himself behind the wheel, half a dozen snacks tumble from his arms into his lap, and he glances over at me. It's not mine, he smiles, passing me a bottle of water. I think it's Beth's, although how it got into my car I couldn't tell you. Yeah, likely story. I laugh. I don't know how anybody can read this stuff. It's sickening and so predictable. So you're the closet Mills and Boon fan, eh? He laughs, taking a drink from the bottle of soda he bought. Al used to read them, I say, the smile slipping, aloud, but only because she knew how much it drove me crazy. I learnt more than I ever wanted to about badly written romance novels. Oh, he says, slipping the soda bottle into the pocket in his door and shoveling all but one of the snacks alongside it. That's a lot of snacks, I say, watching him open a bag of Doritos. Cheese Doritos. I couldn't choose, so I just got them all, he says, one of the yellow triangular potato chips halfway to his mouth. So how's it going with Elle? I question, dropping the book back into the door and opening the water. No different, really, he says through a mouthful. I thought I told you about her the day before yesterday. The water's cool and refreshing. I need a distraction, Bud, I sigh, screwing the top back on the bottle. Tell me again. Ryan slips the Doritos packet onto the dashboard behind the steering wheel and starts the engine. She's amazing, Mike. He smiles, his voice taking on a dreamy edge. Long chocolate brown hair, matching eyes that I just want to get lost in every time I look at them, and a beautiful, dazzling smile. I laugh, genuinely amused, and watch out the window as he rejoins the highway. Man, Chrissy said it sounded like you had it bad, and she wasn't wrong. We had our first date last week, and she kissed me. Ryan sucks air through his teeth sharply. It was hot. I wasn't expecting that on a first date, but it was far from disappointing. She's an angel. Trying not to dwell on thoughts of Chrissy, I recall a previous time we spoke about Elle. Monaghan. It's crazy. I wrote this name and I don't even know how to pronounce it properly. She's an Irish-American Playboy model. I've never met her in person myself, but I know what she looks like. How Ryan got so lucky, I don't know. Ryan was boasting that he had bagged a date with her, and one of our co-stars overheard. Karen Garner mocked us for reading Playboy and dismissed Ryan's interest in Elle as superficial. I quickly pointed out how scantily dressed she was, seeing as we'd just finished filming a scene that required her to wear a flimsy nightdress. That seemed such a rub. She's got some killer curves too, Ryan sighs dreamily. His eyes are fixed on the road ahead, but it's scary that he might not really be seeing it. Yeah, I laugh, briefly raising my eyebrows. I remember them. Is that right? He says. Don't worry, buddy, she's not my type. I smile. That's Chrissy, right? He says, the dreamy tone replaced by a teasing one. She's very much your type. I bet you remember her curves too, huh? Remembering how hot she looked when I saw her yesterday, I murmur in agreement. Her blouse was low-cut and floated around her body, only hinting at her amazing curves. The tight skirt was a different matter entirely. I don't want to talk about her, I say, remembering myself. Oh yeah, he chuckles. Any special reason? I open the water bottle and swallow some more of the cool liquid whilst concentrating on the passing countryside. No, I reply. She turns you on that much, does she? He laughs. How come you never told me before? I thought we were close, you know? Things have a way of becoming public knowledge, Rye. I look across at him. Eve Rosie has a chip on her shoulder bigger than the African continent about her. God forbid she should ever find out how I really feel about Chrissy. The hollow feeling returns, and I am filled with deep depression again, or perhaps it never really went away. I don't even know if I'm still in a relationship with her, and I feel like such a bad person for dating one woman, whilst being crazy in love with another. I know they say the walls have ears, but not in here they don't. Ryan indicates to pull out into the next lane and passes a car going slower than us, proving he's paying attention to the road. How much do you love Chrissy? I fold my arms and lean back against the seat, considering how best to answer. I've known her practically my whole life. I feel pretty tired. I don't know if I feel more like breaking down or falling asleep. He says. Interesting, but not an answer. I guess that means you love her a lot. I yawn and focus on the melodious sound coming out of the stereo speakers, briefly closing my eyes. Did I fall asleep? I question, yawning, and open my eyes. Looking around the well-lit, bustling city streets, I'd say it looks like we're in London. Yep, Ryan says. I only closed my eyes for a second. I yawn again and lift my water bottle and drain a fair amount of it. It's all right, he chuckles. We're nearly there. Instead of the feeling being a sudden rush, it slowly dawns on me how badly I need to pee. Ryan can't pull into the secure car park he uses soon enough for my liking. Climbing out of the car, I stretch out my arms above my head and ignore the twinge in my left arm. It still hurts every time I move it, but I think I'm getting used to it. Getting a nostril full of exhaust fumes, I wrinkle my nose and lift my things out of the front seat, shoving the cigarettes and lighter into my pocket. Do you want to go for a beer after we check in? Ryan says, closing the car door. Locking my door from inside before closing it, I smile. I think it's best if I just keep a low profile. I haven't had death threats yet, but I'm sure I've got that coming. I don't want to invite trouble by showing my face in public in the company of strangers consuming large amounts of alcohol. He opens the trunk and we both lift our bags. Okay, fair enough, he says. After closing it again, he fiddles with his key fob and frowns. There's a dull clicking noise coming from the car and it repeats a second time. You've screwed up the central locking system, Mike, he scowls, clicking the fob again, and the indicator lights flash this time. I've had enough issues with it already. Stop locking the door when you get out. Sorry, buddy, I sigh, walking with him through the car park. I don't know why I keep doing that. I'll try and remember not to. Walking around to the hotel, I try not to think about how much I need to use the bathroom, but it's hard. The large, sparse lobby is surprisingly quiet. We check in without a problem and head up to our rooms in the elevator. Are you okay? Ryan says, looking concerned. I really need to pee. I hiss, thankful we're alone in the elevator and trying not to jiggle up and down. Oh, he exhales, smiling and nods. Sorry I didn't wake you, mate. I stopped to go a while back, but I left you to sleep. It's fine, I smile at him, feeling the discomfort tightening it. The door opens on our floor and I turn to head in the opposite direction to him. Are you sure you'll be okay, Mike? Ryan says, sounding worried. Yeah, I'm going to have an early night. Don't worry about me. Okay, take it easy, mate. He slaps my shoulder before turning away. We've been practically living here for the last few weeks whilst filming this movie, in the same rooms, but when we told them we'd be gone for a couple of days, they insisted we hand back the key cards, yet assured us we could leave our things in our rooms, something to do with security. Slotting my key card into the lock, I hastily open the door and dump my bag on the floor, rushing into the bathroom. The room door clicks closed, heavily hinged on an automatic closer above the frame as I relieve myself. That feels so much better. Zipping myself up again, I flush the toilet blindly before flicking the light on and washing my hands. But I try not to look at myself in the mirror. I'm not a pretty sight at the moment. Leaving the light on, I step out of the bathroom and turn the tumblers on the inside of the hotel room door. There's a large window on the wall opposite the door looking out into the city, but it's not high enough here that we can see over the rooftops of the buildings on the opposite side of the street. Drawing the curtains, I turn and search for the TV remote. Not caring what's on, I turn it on and leave it to talk away. I just need the company and the noise. Pulling off my shoes, I empty my pockets onto the desk and open the fridge. I have to work in the morning, but I need to feel the buzz of alcohol running through me. Taking out a couple of miniatures, I close the fridge and relax on the bed. Some movie is on this channel at the moment. I'm not familiar with it, I don't think, but it doesn't look so bad. Unscrewing one of the bottles of alcohol, I drain the whole thing in one go. Ooh, I gasp. Paying attention to the TV, the scene playing out begins to get emotional. The acting and the dialogue are pretty good. There is some backstory coverage as they talk about how they got to this point, and as I begin to understand the storyline, I start to feel myself well up. The girl on screen is very emotional at this point, and on the verge of tears as she explains to the man why she is so heartbroken. When she finally lets go and starts crying with abandon, the tragedy of the whole situation gets my heart breaking for her, tears running down my own cheeks. It doesn't help that I can't stop thinking about the traumas of this weekend, going over them again and again in my head. The movie is only partially distracting. I didn't rape that woman, but it's scary how badly the police seem to want me to be responsible for it. What happened to that policewoman is sickening. I can't believe I could be capable of doing that by accident. It's scary to think I was so drunk I can't recall any of that stuff. That night's just a blur, like when you spin around on a playground roundabout really fast. Really fast, I mean. Since this follows the horrific accident with Kelly last weekend, it seems like a pattern is developing. If I can't stop being so clumsy, that reporter who suggested I hate women won't be a lone voice for long. Things with Eve and Chrissy are just a total mess, and I'm not sure how to deal with it. So much has happened this weekend, I can't believe it was only 2 days. Whatever I did to earn all this bad luck, I'm sorry. Can I make it up to the universe without having to sacrifice my sanity? Opening the second bottle, I drained the contents before turning onto my stomach, the moving scene on the TV creating the soundtrack as I sobbed my heart out into the pillow.